There was a dramatic fall from grace for a man once known as the king of cryptocurrency. Sam Bankman-Fried, sentenced today to 25 years in prison. Bankman-Fried is the founder of the now defunct FTX crypto exchange platform. He was convicted on fraud and conspiracy charges back in November. Hundreds of thousands of customers bilked out of more than $11 billion. Anna Masoglia manages editorial content and investigations at Open Secrets. And Anna, 25 years, that is actually half of what prosecutors were asking for. Why such a departure?
It is indeed. The judge really took a very holistic approach to this, looking at a number of different aspects of the case, looking at whether people are going to be able to recover some of the funds that were used for a variety of purposes they weren't supposed to be used for, as well as some of what Fried has said recently, his recent autism diagnosis, as well as a number of other factors. Really, this case is the end-all be-all case for SBF, where we're not going to see another campaign finance case, but many of those factors were at play within this case as well, where we are looking at the whole picture rather than just focusing on the charges at hand.
Anna, there seems to be two schools of thoughts with regards to Sam Bankman-Fried. One is that whenever there is a so-called white-collar crime, you hear the chorus of people that say, he got off easy. The other is that he's young, and 25 years is going to be a big chunk of his life. Was there any talk, was there any discussion about how this sentence might be, I guess, discussed today in court?
Well, one aspect of this is really, it's not just about SBF and the time that he's going to spend behind bars, but about the bigger message that's being sent to the cryptocurrency industry about what is and what is not acceptable behavior. We're currently in a time where the cryptocurrency industry is facing unprecedented regulation, where there is all sorts of policy changes, and where SBF, of course, routing money to politicians to try to get them in his court, but really trying to make sure that the industry at large knows that this is something that's not acceptable, and sending that message in a broader sense, not just with the political donations, but really with how this was handled overall.
And one thing that it seems that the judge didn't buy was the defense, which was that Sam Bankman-Fried was simply a young man. Some described him as being autistic, who really didn't understand the impact, the effect of what he was doing at FTX. Is that a safe assessment of what you see with this 25-year sentence?
It's hard to say really what all specifically, other than what the judge cited, goes into this, but there is a very clear picture painted by the messages that were exchanged between Bankman-Fried and his colleagues, between other individuals at the companies that he was empowering. And this is not something that is a small-time crime. This is something that you really do have to have that understanding in order to pull off. There is pretty ample evidence of that, of just that knowledge base of knowing where the funds are coming from and also where they're going. So certainly there's a lot to consider there.
Anna, he was a popular, in fact, the most popular face in the industry. What will the impact of his conviction be on the crypto industry?
SBF really had a very quick rise after the launch of his cryptocurrency companies, and saw this huge boom of billions and billions of dollars going in, and also just an equally meteoric fall. And during that time between then, we really saw not just a growing company in the cryptocurrency sector, but also an unprecedented level of influence on politicians, on the legislation and policy that was being passed. And that is something that's really left a large hole. SBF immediately became one of those top donors. Looking at that cycle, he was pretty much out of the blue at that point. So seeing kind of this funds coming out of nowhere. And now, as the cryptocurrency industry kind of grapples with what's happened and how to go moving forward with that regulation, it's certainly not the attempts to influence policy, at least themselves, are not something that stops with SBF. There's something that's continued. We're seeing cryptocurrency companies increasing lobbying and spending, but in legal ways and going through the actual routes that they're supposed to be taking. But it's certainly going to be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, I was going to say, aside from the political donations, he also engaged in risky investments, even charitable donations. For those people that he duped, is there any chance that they will get their money back?
That is still to be determined. I think that was one thing that the judge did look at in the terms of sentencing, of there is still potential for certain people to be able to get their money back. I know that there's been talk of of liquidating companies, that type of thing. It's hard to say at this point that, especially given that there are allegations that the company has been hedging to some extent. So while there is still potential for people to get their money back, the timeline for that is still really up in the air.
Anna, if you ask most people, what is cryptocurrency, they'll tell you it is a commercial with Matthew McConaughey. A lot of people don't even understand what it is. Without more regulation, what is to stop the same thing from playing out again?
One other aspect of that is, while you see people not really understanding cryptocurrency as the average member of the public, I question whether lawmakers have a strong grasp of understanding of cryptocurrency either in many cases, and are oftentimes either shooting in the dark to try to regulate something that's new and kind of scary to some people, but also relying heavily on the industry that is going to be regulated in other circumstances, and not necessarily relying on the right players in the case of SBF. And so as they grapple with that regulation, it really makes sense to get a better sense of the picture, to get a better understanding of cryptocurrency within Congress, and make sure that we are not just relying on these outside individuals who may not have the best interest of the American public at heart.
I was trying to politely not single out members of Congress, but you're right. Most people have no idea on Capitol Hill exactly what cryptocurrency is. Anna Masoglia with Open Secrets. Anna, thanks for being with us tonight.